Welcome back to the 920 podcast. I'm your host, Logan Quinton, alongside my partner, Bill Monnett. Tennessee baseball is coming off a difficult weekend on the road at Alabama. Dropped the series, but they're coming back home. They got to regroup quick. They have a matchup against Xavier on Tuesday night before welcoming Ole Miss to town for the home opening SEC series. But I've got good news. We've got the Hot Works Hot Hand Performer of the Week. It's none other than Dylan Dreiling from Tennessee Baseball to help us regroup today. I know this award we usually give out to pitchers, but I feel the need to show the bat some love because Dylan, man, you've been a performer so far this year in your second year with the Vols, posting up some great numbers as a full-time starter. First of all, what's the mindset after the road trip? Going down to the Joe, I know the outcome wasn't what you all hoped, but it wasn't like you all were overwhelmed. You were in the spots you wanted to be for the most part on Saturday and Sunday. What's kind of the mindset as you had a lift day today, you regroup, you got a tough Xavier team coming up Tuesday night?
Yeah, I think it's important. I think for us, it's just important to not stress this early in the year. I feel like last year a lot of our struggles was we we went on the road to Missouri, and even though the next weekend, we ended up sweeping Mississippi State maybe or Texas A&M. I can't remember, but I kind of think we stressed a little bit too early in the year, and we just needed to continue to play our ball with confidence. So I think that's important for this team, and to really just not take anybody lightly. Xavier, and usually on midweek games you don't um, play tough opponents, but Xavier is going to be a tough opponent, and then Ole Miss is going to be a really good team this weekend. So
You mentioned last year going to Missouri and getting swept. The good news is you didn't get swept this year. You came out with a win. But the reality is that not one road team in the SEC this week won a series. So just underscores how tough it is to win on the road in the SEC.
yeah, it's really hard, and honestly to get one win on the road in the SEC's, um, not what you hope for, but it's a lot better than getting swept.
Dylan, what did you learn last season? After you were a part-time starter, you were flexing in the lineup a little bit in a veteran outfield, I might add. What did you learn last season after going through some of the rigors of SEC play?
I think the most important thing I learned was just not to take anybody too lightly. Um, Really, just every team in the SEC is good. Every arm in the SEC is going to be good. So just play every game honestly, like it's the World Series, and everything will work out the way you want it to.
If it's okay, let's go back a little bit, Dylan. Let's go back to your high school days or even before. When did you start really getting serious about baseball? And when did somebody come and tell you, or you told yourself, hey, I might have a chance to play college baseball at a pretty high level? Take us back to that time.
Well, my grandpa has been a coach for 40 some years in Kansas.
Coached you in high school, right?
Yeah, he coached me in high school, and then he coaches a summer league team in Kansas. And so, really, when I was probably fourth, fifth grade, I started going to the ballpark every day for BP, taking outfield fly balls with them, and then hitting after BP. And then the game would start. I was the bat boy, so I was always in the dugout and around those guys. So I think that really motivated me to want to play baseball. And then the whole recruiting thing came really fast. Um, I really never thought about playing D1. Like obviously I wanted to go to college for baseball, but coming to a school like this was never, I never thought about it. And my 8th grade year, I was playing a tournament in Atlanta um, for the Tri-State Arsenal, and I ended up pitching pretty well for them. And within the next few weeks, I was talking to different schools and getting offered, and I think I committed probably within a month of that. So it all happened pretty fast.
Well, that's answered another question. Obviously being from Kansas, some people refer to it as flyover country. I hate that term. I like more like the heartland of the country. But obviously, you're in Big 12 country, if you will. I'm sure you had opportunities to go to a lot of other schools. You ended up picking Tennessee over, I believe, Missouri and Arkansas. Did you always have in the back of your mind that you wanted to play in the SEC, or did you seriously look at other areas of the country to play college baseball?
Honestly, no, I never no Big 12 school ever recruited me. Obviously, like teams like K State and Oklahoma were two of the closest teams to me that were, you know, better baseball schools. So those were growing up. Those were teams I watched and followed. But really, the SEC, I never like watched or thought of going there. Honestly.
Following up on that, you ended up in Tennessee in the SEC. Has the SEC been everything you expected it to be? Surprises? Talk about coming from Kansas to play in the SEC and the best college baseball league in the country.
Yeah, I mean you always hear like it's best college baseball conference in the country and all this stuff about how great the SEC is, and honestly, it lived up to everything. Before like you could experience it, you had people saying how much different it is and how hard to win on the road it is and how good all the pitching and lineups and all of it is.
Right.
And you don't like in the back of your head you're thinking like, is it like is it gonna live up to what these people are saying? And it does. It's unreal.
Dylan, I was gonna ask you about that attachment to Hayes and where you're from, and obviously the impact that that had on you growing up, learning the game. Like a couple of things. First, did you turn into like a big circuit guy once you got to the high school level? How did you balance that? As you obviously played for your hometown team, but in the off season, like how much of a circuit guy were you?
Yeah. So until 8th grade, I played with a team from Hayes. My dad was the coach, but I always played up. So when those guys got to high school, they were doing the high school stuff in the summer. So I really didn't have a team. And, I was bouncing around Kansas City teams. I ended up pitching for this one Kansas City team, throwing pretty well. And then I got an opportunity to go play for a New Jersey team in Atlanta. And then from there on, I really just played with them all summer long in Atlanta, Florida, Hoover, places like that.
So the next thing I want to ask about your influence of your hometown and your family, um, you're kind of the pride of Hayes High School, right? It seems like. What do you carry from that experience into Rocky Top as you've come to find out? Like this here in Knoxville on Rocky Top, it's kind of a special place, and there's that faithful bond, going on. Like, what do you carry over from your small hometown up here to Knoxville?
Um, you know, my high school class in Hayes, small town, you don't really see a lot of people go D1 in sports, but I was blessed with a really good class. One of my best friends is started at linebacker for OU last year. I have another buddy playing linebacker at K State. I got blessed with a really good class, and we just pushed each other all throughout high school. In the weight room, uh, on the basketball court, on the football field, like not just baseball, but just being an athlete, playing different sports. So I really think that helped me in high school. And then getting here, just continuing to push guys and have them push me to be the best version of myself.
Have you talked to your friend that's at Oklahoma about next fall's game in Norman yet?
Oh yeah, a little bit. It'll be a good one. I'm hoping I can find a way out there for that game.
So coming from Big 12 country, you've and sports minded, obviously, with March Madness coming up. What do you think of the madness so far in the brackets? Obviously, you've had to have a chance to check out the Tennessee program and Rick Barnes, what they're doing. What's your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I mean, I've got to watch them a little bit this year. They're really good. I love watching, Dalton Connect play. And Zakai, he's really fun to watch. So, I mean, it'll be interesting. I just made my bracket today.
What's it like?
That was my next question.
Yeah, yeah. Who's your Final Four?
Oh, I would have to look. I think Tennessee, Houston. I know those two. UConn maybe, and then I
Yeah.
think Iowa State.
Yeah, that would match up with the varying regions.
I
So
think that's what my Final Four is.
You mentioned a minute ago you enjoy watching basketball. We hear a lot about the camaraderie now at UT between the athletes of the different sports. How have you found that? Is that is it what we hear, and is there a lot of interaction and a lot of sport between the sports now at UT?
Yeah, I don't think there's any, like bad blood or anything between sports. We have study hall with the basketball team. Really at study, like we don't, interact as that much at study hall, but I mean, they're all good guys. You can tell by just kind of being around them in study hall. So it's cool. It's cool to watch them. It's cool to watch football. All of it.
what's it like to play for a head coach that is also so ingrained with the other sports going around? Like I've never seen a coach in one sport be so dedicated to another sport on campus. I mean, Tony is like he is. I don't even know if he took a shower that one game that what was it, the Illinois weekend that Kentucky played too, and that there was a delay in there. The man made it in. There was no chance I thought that he or some of the media would make it over there as long as that baseball game was delayed. But man, he booked it over there, made it for the last part of the Kentucky basketball game.
It's really cool. It's kind of crazy sometimes. Like we'll get out of practice at 3:30, 4, and you'll be watching the Tennessee game in Lexington against Kentucky 7 that night and see V courtside. It's like how does that work? But it's crazy. Like I remember last year, maybe the Georgia game in Athens. I think we had something that weekend and they played on a Saturday and maybe we played on a Sunday or something. And he went to that Saturday and was there for us Sunday. So it's kind of crazy how he makes it all work.
Man, he go ahead, Bill.
I was just going to ask you, Dylan. Let's go back to this past weekend. Friday night, you went into Tuscaloosa. First time you had ever played there. You ended up with just a terrific night. Had 4 hits, I believe it was. And was Cyril Thomas Stadium one of those places where you walked in and looked around and you said, "Man, I feel comfortable here"? Certainly looked like you were comfortable at the plate.
I think that had some to do with the Thursday night practice. Getting used to the field, all that. Honestly, in left field, like the first time I got out to left, it somehow reminded me, like it felt like I was in Lindsey Nelson, the way just everything looked and all that. I don't know, hard to explain, but yeah, I mean, I was pretty comfortable. And also as a veteran guy, I would say, or like, I've been playing more this year, had some at bats last year, all that. I feel like it's kind of my role for the young guys to, maybe look comfortable even when I'm not, or, give them confidence going into a new place, first SEC series and on the road. So
Does it give you, are you a little more comfortable now this year? Last year, you're a part-time player. This year, you're going to be in the lineup every night. Does that give you a little more confidence or a little more comfort, knowing you're going to be in the lineup every single night?
oh yeah, a ton. Coming off the bench last year, it was kind of, you had that in the back of your head, like, if I don't get a hit right here, I might not get another at bat tomorrow or the next day or the next weekend, stuff like that. But this year, just, if I go 0 for 4 one game, I know I'll be in there the next game. So, it's kind of a weight off my shoulders and just gives me a lot more confidence this year.
Dylan, what's it been like with progressing with that confidence? You mentioned that you want to have an impact on those younger guys, being out there, like you said, maybe the moment it does feel a little uncomfortable to you. I mean, you're a full-time player now, so you're going to get more ABs and more spots in big moments, leverage spots. But like, I got to tell you, man, I've said this to my peers who are a whole lot smarter than I am, but you look like the toughest at bat in the lineup right now. You look stone cold in the box. I can't think of a better example than the walk towards your last at bat on Sunday, and then that home run at bat that you had against Ben Hess. It's almost like you paid it forward in your first at bat to catch that fastball dead red in your second at bat. Like you could tell he was hard pressed not to throw you a fastball, but the moments that you had, the competition you had pitch to pitch led to that moment. Like, how have you been able to draw it in and to be able to compete pitch to pitch at bat to bat like that?
Really just having confidence in the work I've put in over the past year, in the cages with, Coach Elander, Coach Bonfield, and really just carrying that over to the game. And just honestly, the most important part is just confidence, and believing in yourself in the box. And, the pressure is always on the pitcher. It's not on you.
What's it been like to develop that confidence though? Like, cause I'm sure, in your small town, from Hayes, Kansas, I'm sure you probably broke some records if I had to guess, but like growing up in the SEC and to be leading the team in OPS, 25 RBI, on base in your first year as a full-time starter, man, like what, like, is there like certain players that had an impact on you? Has it been more of an intrinsic development? How has that worked?
Yeah. Getting here, as a freshman, the first week or so, you're saying, it's in the back of your head, like, do I belong here? Can I compete with guys like this? You got Chase Dollanders and Jared Dickey's walking around the facility all the time. So it's in the back of your head always. And, Griffin Merritt last year was a huge, huge help to me, on the field and off the field, honestly. He helped me, like, work through at bats and, like, the different guys you face. Like, is it a ride guy or sink guy? Do I need to see the ball up or down? Stuff like that. And in the fall last year, I felt like I gained a little confidence. Like, yeah, okay, I can compete with some guys like this at this level. And then during the year, it carried over. And just this year so far, it's just been knowing what I did last year and knowing the work I've put in since last year and just letting it, show.
You mentioned last fall you came in, and some of the first guys I'm sure you saw in inter squads were Dolander, Burns, Beam. Those guys. How was it coming in as a freshman, seeing those guys early on in inter squad scrimmages?
It was unreal. I think one of my first at bats was Doe, actually, and I think he might have. I think he struck me out in 3 pitches, maybe 4,
You
but
weren't the only one, I'm sure.
it was crazy. That was one of those at bats where it was like, this like everybody you're gonna see, and if so, I don't know if I can do it, but um, I mean, I settled in fine after that.
Speaking of the off season, man, it's pretty apparent seeing you up close week to week, even going back to the fall and the spring ramp up. You made some significant gains in the off season in terms of conditioning. Tony, your coach, has even said that at some point, Q pulled him to the side and was like, "Hey, man, like this." He didn't want to say it out loud, but he wanted to let Tony know that you put in the work, you've put on the pounds, and you're getting stronger. What were you able to do in the off season to develop those gains?
I think it all started in the summer when, I didn't go play summer ball. I stayed here and just worked with Q all summer long, and that was a huge help for me. And then Beth, our nutritionist, has been a huge help for me. It all stemmed, I think, just I started eating a little better. I started taking the weight room a little more seriously. Um, kind of not skipping reps, but not giving my full effort on all my reps. And I mean, it's just sleeping well. And then really just the eating part is what I think helped me the most.
What are you up to now? You're listed at like 200 pounds, but like in terms of weight or like weightlifting or whatever, like what are some of your personal gains? Where are you at now?
Uh, I'm sitting at like 198, I believe. And I honestly think I didn't gain or lose any weight. It kind of just
All
um,
muscle.
is, yeah, better
You
weight
got
than what
lean.
I was
Yeah.
last year. Yeah.
Well, you can tell, man, and you carried it around well. You did not sacrifice anything. It does not appear um, up to this point. Which, by the way, I wanted to ask you. Going back to Bill, couple of things here in terms of the fielding. I want to give credit to Bill for this question. It's something that he brought up a couple of weeks ago. Something that we've wanted to ask. Just hadn't had a real good opportunity in terms of the media scrum that we get game to game. But now that you've had plenty of games in, we wanted to ask an outfielder kind of like, how is Lindsey Nelson playing now? Is it any different with the wind or anything now that that left side is enclosed?
Honestly, I think it plays about the same. The only change is the foul ground. There's only
Yeah,
like 5 or so feet
there is not much room.
foul ground versus last year there was probably 3 times that. So that's really the only difference. I feel like the wind and everything's playing about the same as it did last year.
Well, going on that, the fielding, that's a question mark that a lot of the scouts have. By the way, you're draft eligible this summer, um, and really, it's you just haven't had the exposure. You, like we said, you were a part-time player last year, 95 at bats. But man, already this year, you have been able to flash some of the range. We saw it this past weekend with that catch.
Yep.
How do you feel? How comfortable do you feel, not just in the corner, but in all spots of the outfield?
I feel very comfortable in the outfield right now. Um, over the fall, I think I gained quite a bit of speed working with Q. Also, didn't mention that earlier, but I think it's really helped me in the outfield, and just getting reads over the fall and the early spring helped me a lot. And then just getting out there during the year and just playing some games out there, I think made me feel a lot more comfortable.
Dylan, who did you watch try to model your game after major league players growing up? Who were some of your favorites that you would stop and watch if you were casually watching a ball game?
Um, Robinson Cano was one of them. Prince Fielder was another one. My dad loves watching Prince Fielder, so we watched him quite a bit. And then recently, it's been like Bryce Harper, Trout, Acuna, all those guys.
When you watch a major league hitter in an at bat, what do you watch? What do you look for? What do you try to take away from watching a big league hitter right now?
Honestly, I think it's super interesting how well they know the zone. Um, they get enough at bats to where they know if it's a ball or not. At this age, I feel like sometimes I'll take strike three or take a pitch and I'll think it's away, but I'll go back and look at it and it's on the corner. So I think that's honestly the main difference between college hitters and big league hitters is just knowing the zone well and knowing what to look for throughout the at bat.
Kind of going on that you might have just answered my next question, Dylan. I was going to ask you what your biggest adjustment has been so far in year two.
Yeah, I mean, I think same thing. I tried working this fall and early spring on knowing the zone better and just knowing what to look for throughout the at bat, what the guys trying to throw me. Um, you know, I don't really sit pitches, but if I did, I would, working on not sitting the pitch you want, but sitting the pitch you're gonna get from that guy, stuff like that.
Well, you can tell, man. It is progressing rapidly. Your ability, your presence in the box, picking up on some pitches, and the way you can impact the baseball from field to field. It's been quite impressive. Uh, I guess we'll let you get out of here, man. In case Bill, do you have anything left for Dylan?
Just one more question, Dylan. Of course, obviously you had some really quality hitters back from last year. Of course, Moore and the big guy at first base who just swings the bat awesomely. But you bring in Billy Amick, you bring in Peebles, you bring in Villeneuve, some more big bats. Talk about the adjustment to the new guys coming in and meshing with the old guys, if you will.
Yeah, I feel like it was just a really good group of new guys. And honestly, we're all the same. Like a baseball locker room, it's all you get. They're all the same people. Just you got they different personalities or express it differently. But everyone in our locker room wants to win games, and that's the main priority. And I feel like that's shown this year. And the new guys help build that just as well as the returning guys.
Yeah, it seems like Dylan that what I've told people, and I know it's kind of early on. You guys haven't played a home series yet in the SEC, but you're about to. But just early on, the vibe that I get from you guys, just talking, uh, whether it's you or Inslee, a guy that's been in the program a long time, Ethan Payne, all the way to like Dean Curley. Uh, it seems like these guys, it doesn't matter where they bat in the lineup or when their number's called. It seems like they're just ready for the moment, and kind of like how you mentioned, kind of that team approach. How confident are you that not only the production can withstand the SEC, but that mentality?
I'm very confident in this lineup and even guys that aren't getting to play every day. I think we're just going to continue to get better. Because I mean, we were talking about it in the cages today. We don't have a veteran lineup. Like we got freshmen getting opportunities. We got a bunch of sophomores getting opportunities. So I think throughout the year we're going to continue to progress as a lineup, and guys off the bench also getting used to coming in big situations and getting a pinch hit single, stuff like that.
Well, they're going to get them. I mean, every weekend in the SEC, there's going to be leverage spots, and can't wait to see it on unfold for you guys. Home opener this weekend against Ole Miss. You'll have back-to-back homestands at home, by the way. How can you guys respond from last weekend? You got Xavier up first. You got to take care of Xavier and Ole Miss. How are you guys going to be able to respond from that road trip?
Yeah, I think we just keep our confidence and continue to play baseball the way we've been playing it the past 3 weeks, month. I think we'll be just fine. And again, it's way too early in the season to be stressing over a 1-2 weekend in Alabama, who's top 10 team in the country and going to be a very good team in the SEC throughout the rest of the year.
Yeah, I actually saw one publication had Alabama ranked 1 this week, so
what
they're
in the world?
A lot of respect.
Yeah, good stuff, Dylan. Man, he is our Hot Works Hot Hand Performer of the Week. Folks, you can heat things up with Hot Works. Go to 10839 Hardin Valley Road or call 865-297-3668 to start your personalized fitness journey. Dylan, thanks for hopping on with us. It was good to talk to you. Good to catch up. It was your second appearance, by the way, on this podcast. And for folks wondering on the video, I blessed you with some more good news about not seeing my mug this whole episode because my webcam is not working. I can't figure it out. I've been trying to toy with the display. Tried to feature Dylan there, but I don't want to kick us off. The most important thing is we heard from Dylan Dreiling, big time star for the Vols, and not Dylan. I can't wait to see how things unfold for you and the team progressing to the summer. Thanks for joining us, man. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
Appreciate it, Dylan. Thank you.
Yep, thank you.
Thank you, guys.